welcome to Success Beyond Shadow. This is part 2 of Aida Gueye story.
A very resilient person, y'all.
Are you not amazed? Did you check out the part 1? If you haven't, listen, you got to go back and listen to it, because I've been so blessed. I've known this woman for a couple years now, and the things that she's telling me I did not even know. And I never knew that she was actually born and literally raised in Senegal. Well, half of her childhood was in Senegal, in transition to the United States, and I am just amazed about her story. But listen, there is more to it, because now my ears are itching to hear how she transitioned from Senegal to the United States. But I never knew. I thought actually you were born here.
You know, I get that a lot because people think that I don't have an accent when I speak. So I don't know. I'm just like, nope. I can give you the Wolof. I can give you the French.
Yeah.
I can give you the English too. But you know, yeah. But I think it's partly because most of the time Senegalese people, our dialect is not very heavy, right? So the transition from like, you know, Wolof to English, the heaviness of it is not like, you know, somebody who's from Nigeria or Ghana, you know, where you can clearly hear, you know, where
their accent.
Exactly.
But I would tell them, if they want to hear the accent, let them get you upset.
Exactly. Exactly.
Get an African woman upset that you can
actually hear the accent. Yes.
You know, most people think that I don't speak Creole. Like, get me upset.
And that, you hear exactly
like,
from me.
Yeah. I know you were saying something about you said that you came to the United States when you were like 12.
Yes.
12 years. That's such a young age.
Absolutely.
Like, you just become a teenager. You're just transitioning to teenager.
Yeah.
And then the most complicated part, you're moving from one country to another.
Yes.
How did that, did you come with your parents?
We came as a family.
Okay.
You know, my father, he's a diplomat. So we came as a family, and he just wanted us all to, of course, have the opportunity that a lot of people want or are looking for, especially to like come overseas. So we came as a family, and again, once again, the language barrier, an issue. Didn't really know much about, you know, the American culture. You know, just having to learn, you know, how to speak English from scratch. Going through a school system that is not necessarily the most, I guess, welcoming to an immigrant like myself. Being called names and being bullied.
Oh my goodness.
Talked about, you know, my melanin being just like, people just talking very negatively.
Yeah.
So that was a transition, and then on top of that, trying to make friends when you don't understand the language, and then you're a teenager, you're learning who you are, you're growing up into yourself, you kind of into like the things that you weren't into before, the hair and the makeup. So you're like, I'm trying to figure out who I am, but the world's telling me this is not who I am, and the world's telling me that I'm not beautiful and stuff like that. So definitely a super tough transition. But it gets better as you get older.
Right.
It gets better as you know, transition to like college, right? I feel like college really opened the doors for my transition, at least, because I met people who like me, right?
Right.
Like other immigrants trying to make it, or other people trying to, you know, get an education. So I was able to find some kind of safety in that a little bit.
Right.
So yeah, that's really how it was. But
you know what?
I'm a very resilient person, y'all. I'm telling you.
That's
it. You know, like
that's it. That's what you need.
It doesn't matter.
You gotta be your own person.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
The most
just
important
naturally
thing.
that's just how I am. You know, like you may have, like, you can beat me all the way down, but I will get back up. I don't know how to do it. Grace of God, probably, but. You know, yeah, so that really helped me overcome a lot of these things. And, you know, I don't have a choice but to be successful. I really do not. Like, for me, failure is not an option.
I love that.
It's not.
I love that. But anyway, I know you touched into your college days, but I really want to know, like, we can tell the audience more about high school, because one thing that I noticed in our African community is the fact that I came here when I was, and I'm a full-grown woman when I came to the United States, and I see myself struggling to cope with the culture, to adjust, to even accept that I'm here. This is where I am. You know what I mean? Because when I came, actually, I didn't came to stay. I only came for a couple months because I do pageantry, international pageant, and international modeling. You know, I've been to Ghana, Gambia.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Shout out to my Gambia.
Yes. And they'll be speaking the wall off to me. I'm like, today, I know the skin are the same.
I know, but we're not.
The tongue is not the same.
Country.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm saying that because I feel like that's an issue we don't tap into. Our parent, like you said, your parent brought you here so you can have the American dream that we all pretty much, most people are after, because I can say not everybody wants to be in America anyway.
Yeah.
Because you have people in Africa
of course,
that are successful.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So, but they bring us here. One thing I feel like they don't pay attention to is the fact that because we're a kid, at 12 years, they feel like I'm bringing you here for your own benefit. So now nobody gets to ask you how you're feeling. Nobody gets to ask you how you're coping. Nobody gets to ask you how you even adjusting in school, because now they expect you to just adjust. You're supposed to fit in because I'm doing you the best thing in life. But the mental part, you know, we don't have our parents to actually go in there and have it. So I know this is huge because you were born and raised. You have friends there. You went to school there.
Yeah.
You know, in Senegal, right? And coming over here, you're gonna leave all your friends and starting make. Oh my goodness! Tell me, how did you make friends?
Oh wow. Okay, so for me, making friends came through basketball. So
you play basketball?
Yes, I did.
Girl, there's so many things about you I don't know.
So I was an athlete since middle school. I ran track and I played basketball, and that really opened the door for me when it came to how I transitioned into the culture, because a lot of the people who were doing these sports were Americans, right?
Right.
So hearing them speak the language, and that's how I was able to kind of like move on from being in ESL for maybe 6 months, and then I'm like in all these AP English courses and stuff like that. I'm just like, listen, I'm out here doing it, you know? So yeah, sports really were a really big thing for me, and I still love basketball to this day, because at some point I had a dream to, you know, go to the WNBA, but we can talk about
No, what stopped you?
I did. You know what? I think I got to the point where I wanted to try something different.
Okay.
You know, because you play basketball all through high school, you go to college, you play basketball, like you don't really get to necessarily enjoy the campus thing because you're traveling a lot. You know, you're always like, my teammates were and are still my family right now. Like we all still like keep up with each other, and I'm very thankful for those relationships. But that becomes your family, because you guys travel a lot. Even when it comes to classes, you have to make it work. You know, you have exams, you got to figure it out, you have to work with your teacher. But in all reality, it also teaches you like the real world, like time management, right? You know, how to work with people as a team. So I'm very thankful for those experiences, but that really helped me with like making friends and meeting people, and of course transitioning into the culture overall.
What are some of the difficult like one of the you know, some of the challenging time you have as a young teenager trying to adjust into the American culture?
Oh wow, that's a really good question. Some of the challenges that I had apart from the language, I would probably say maybe acceptance, because here I was as a teenager. I'm at that age where I'm getting to know who I am, you know. I'm like into hair and makeup, like, you know, the typical teenage stuff, right? And then the making friends was kind of like a little difficult, but even if I had friends, they weren't as like girly as I was, you know, because playing sports, a lot of the young women who play sports sometimes are more on the tomboy side, and just like, you know, the stuff that I'm into, you know. So I think one of the challenges was really like, okay, so here I am, you know, I have an identity, right, because I'm African, and then I come to a culture where it's just like, you don't belong here, you know. So I'm just like, all right, so then who am I? You know, like, who am I as an individual? So trying to figure who I was out was definitely probably one of the most challenging things for me, like growing up and transitioning into that culture, you know. And if you're not careful, it can definitely go left very quickly.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I mean, that's a very good point you raised right there. But how did you find your identity besides being an African? So if someone asks you, who are you besides being an African right now? How do you find your identity?
Are you saying back then or just now?
Yeah, like back then and now, because I know you finding your identity back then has transitioned you to the woman you've become right now. So when that happened, when in your life that happened, when you finally say, besides being an African or Aida Gueye, this is who I am.
Right.
And you have that peaceful conviction in you.
Of course.
When that happened, and how do you find it?
I mean, it's a constant thing, you know, going back to, I think one of the keys to leading a successful life is just being a lifelong learner and like growing consistently, right? So to answer your question, I would say in two ways. One way is self-work.
Right.
Because I think that's something that we all should be doing. Whether you come from Australia, whether you come from Africa, whatever, at the end of the day, every person has something that may be a challenge for them or maybe stopping them from getting to the next level. And sometimes you have to understand like what your triggers are, your emotional, you know, whatever. I think that really, really, really is a number one priority that a lot of people should make. And I am in a constant state of that. You know, I'm a very self-aware person, super self-aware. Sometimes I say things and I'm like, okay, all right, take your time. All right, so why did you say it like that? Is it like, so do you think you hurt the person's feeling? What was the better way that you could have done? Like, that's how I like evaluate myself, right? And that's how you grow, you know, I feel like with that identity, right? Because you ask yourself questions all the time, you try to better yourself. At some point you're like, okay, well, this is who I am.
Yeah, right.
Right? And the other way that I've been able to find that is modeling.
Oh,
that really, like, and I'm like, maybe God knew what he was doing when he just was like, just do it. And I'm just like, I don't want this.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, I don't want this. Guy like, go ahead and do it. I'm like, I don't want it.
Okay, now you got me, like, I'm eating right now. You got me so interested because now, how from being a tomboy, playing basketball, how did you transfer? When did you even know that you can be a model or you want to do modeling?
I've never thought about it. I was never one of those, like, you know, women who would like aspire to just open magazines and be like, that's me. You know, that was never me. If anything, I was like, I'm going to the WNBA, I'm going overseas, I want to be a basketball player. Like that's what I was like really thinking, you know. And then of course a lot of times I feel like we have our own plans, but God is like, I have something else for you,
right?
So modeling, just, it was something that just came out of nowhere. It was not something that I wanted. It was not something that I was aspiring for. Like, it just came out of nowhere. And you want me to go into the story about it? Please. So I went to actually one random day, I was probably bored at home, I don't know. I had heard about a casting because people like a lot of times people would be like, oh my gosh, you should definitely look into modeling.
Yeah, because you're tall, and the cheekbones and the skin.
And I'm like, don't think that, you know, just because somebody has that doesn't mean that they're a model. Because I've never viewed myself that way, you know. So I'm like, nah, I'm not doing this. This is a waste of my time. Everyone's like, oh, you should be a model. I was like, okay. So one day I got word that a casting was happening, like locally, right, in Maryland. It's like, okay, I'll put on some heels and try. I mean, whatever. So I went ahead and showed up to the casting. To my surprise, your girl knew how to work on heels. And I was like, okay, all right, you discovered something new about yourself.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, I did my audition. They called me back. They wanted to do a shoot with me. So I went ahead and did the shoot, and then I was like on the cover of that magazine. Oh, like, and I was like, all right, this is very odd, you know. And then the first time we had done the shoot at a very, very remote place, like somewhere deep in like the desert, like super remote. And this was my first time in front of the camera. And do
you have that picture?
Probably somewhere, yes. I do. I'll send it to you. All right. I'll send it to you.
Okay. Yeah, look out for that picture. Her first modeling gig.
Yes. And the poses for me, I was just too comfortable. And I just didn't understand, like, I really did not understand what was going on. I swear to you. I was like, wait, like, how am I like giving all these angles?
Going for it.
I'm like, how am I giving these angles? Like, where am I learning this from? I swear to you, I did not even know, like, where all this was coming from. And then I think about it and I was like, okay, maybe God's trying to tell me something about this, you know? So I went ahead and just tried it again. And then other doors started opening, and then, you know, I started getting calls about doing, like, you know, the morning sections and like on Fox 5 and you know, all these different news channels, that local ad that I was like on the metro buses, and some people's like, I was actually at work, my friend called me, she's like, hey girl, I'm like, hey, she's like, so you know, you're all over DC, right?
What? Then sorry, I was jumping.
I was like, what? Stop playing with me. She was like, yeah, you're like all over DC. I was like, wow. Like, so to me, it's just like also like surreal, you know. But I think now I'm at the point where I'm trying to figure out, you know, I want to know what my purpose is in this. And like I was telling you earlier, that for me, taking a picture and just like looking polished, I guess, like after like a shoot or whatever, is not fulfilling enough for me. You know, I want to do more with this for sure.
Yeah. How many years have you been in the modeling industry?
I started in 2017. Yes, 4 years.
Like 4 years. That's when you started as a professional, because I think I met you
2016. That was official. Yep. That's
yeah, that was that. So when I met you, you were just scouting around. So you were just scouting around, like, I'm trying to find this. Oh my goodness.
Yes, most definitely. So yeah, it's been like a good 4 or 5 years. Yep.
How is it like being a model, a supermodel in America?
So you think I'm a supermodel?
Oh, sweetie, you are a supermodel, don't you think? Look at this. Is she not a supermodel? Of course you are, sweetheart.
Well, thank you for the compliment. How is it? It is a lot harder than what people think it is.
I bet.
You know, I think that people, again, just see the polished look. They just see the pictures, but they don't see everything that goes on behind the scenes. They don't see what leads up to that 1 or 2, 3 pictures, right? You could be on set and take 1,000 pictures, but only 3 might make it out there. Literally 3. And that's like hours of, you know, posing, giving the right angles. It's very, very, very draining. It can be very draining, you know, doing it like all day. So I want people to know that, like, it's a lot harder than what people think it is, because they think, you know, as a model, all you do is, okay, you know, you dress nicely, you look good, you talk to people, and no, not necessarily. There's a lot more that goes into it than that, because people just always see the finished product. Nobody sees what goes behind that. Right. And the other thing I want to say is that you also get judged a lot. You know, people think that maybe you're not smart, because you're not, and that's why for me, like, I push education all the time. And that is scary. People think you're not smart because, you know, it's just beauty. Exactly, it's just beauty, right? All you do is just take pictures. People think maybe you're not articulate or you don't have certain capabilities because, again, you're just a model. Right. But even down to how agencies treat actual models, I had opportunities to be signed, but I said no, I didn't want to do it because I'm just too independent, I feel like, for that. And I want to identify, like, I want my own identity. I don't want someone else to tell me, you should look like this, you should dress like this, this is how tall you should be, you like can't book this gig because you have big lips, or, like, it's too much, you know? So for me, I was willing to sacrifice that. For some people it works, for me it just does not work, you know? Yeah. So when you said that, like, you know, there is work to it, and it's just me, because I do modeling too. And I know there's I start with beauty pageant, which is like more challenging because this is a competition you're going to. Yeah, it is. Yeah, this is you have beautiful ladies, over 40 of them, and they want to pick one queen. Yep. When every one of them are queen. Yep, absolutely. So it's really that's, like you said, you have tough skin. You have to have tough skin. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna hear a lot of no's, like a lot of no's. But yes, you'll hear a lot of no's. But this is my philosophy on that. You know, for me, I don't believe in waiting for people to choose you. You choose yourself, and you make something happen. Point on. So I think a lot of times we sit down and we wait, right? We wait for these magazines to be like, hey, you're the beauty of the year, or hey, you're the one. In reality, you pick you make yourself beauty of the year. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. You maybe put your own, if modeling is something that you're really interested in, that you love, and you more than likely have networked with people, met with people. Put together your own stuff. Put together your own shoot. Get your makeup artist and allow yourself to be creative with the guidance of others around you.
Right.
Don't just sit there and wait or sacrifice your whole life. And I mean, I don't want to, put anybody down who's like left everything to move to all these different cities, but just understand that having a backup plan sometimes is a good thing.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm going to really talk about that, because I'm telling you, she's not just beautiful. She got brains. We're going to get to that. But I have a few questions about this modeling career, because I know, trust me, I struggled coming into the United States. My mom was the one like taking me to, well, you met my mom. Yes. Who haven't when I go to audition. So she would take me, and some like my aunts would be there. And I'm grateful for the support system that I have coming into this country. I am so grateful to God for that. But is there a set skill for this career, being a model? Is there a set skill that someone should have, or you have to have a degree or go to school for being a model?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a set skill to be a model. I would say there are a couple of things that I think is important for a young woman looking to go into the industry. Number one is self-awareness.
Right.
Okay, so by self-awareness, I mean understanding, who you are as an individual, and also understanding what you can or are not willing to tolerate.
Right.
Okay. Because you also, and that self-awareness leads into the type of brand that you want to portray out there, right? Because sometimes genuinely deep down that you won't do, let's say, like a nude shoot or whatever, but because you think that it's going to put you in a magazine or it's going to give you exposure, you're like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice like that and just like go ahead and do it. When in reality, for me at least, my philosophy is, if it doesn't align with who I am as an individual and my identity and what I'm trying to represent, I'm not going to do it. I don't care how much money it is. That's just me.
And I mean, and that's it. You got to stick by it.
Exactly. And
values.
Exactly. For me, those are very important, and that's that self-awareness that I'm talking about. So I think that's important, and I think networking is huge. Like we met networking, right? Like, and then years later, here we are, and there are doors that have opened for you and for me, and here we are, doing something completely different than we were doing before. So I think networking is very, very important, because that can also open a lot of different doors for you. But I think the self-awareness and networking are a very good thing. Two key things that I think are important to keep in mind.
But you know what? You're saying that you're gonna hear a lot of no's. Have you ever been rejected for an audition?
Oh, girl, plenty of times. And sometimes you don't even hear back. I mean, which is fine, but I think you just have to realize that it doesn't make you any less.
Right.
And I think that's where it is, right? Because you have people who get rejected for things, and then it affects maybe their self-esteem, it affects how they think of themselves, when in reality maybe it just wasn't for you.
Right.
So girl, plenty of times.
I mean, because people out there, and when some people, when they get rejected, they feel like they're not enough. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm so glad that you said you're gonna be self-aware. Yeah,
it got to be self-aware, because and you can't go into auditions saying that, hey, I'm the one,
right?
Because there are a lot of beautiful women out here. There are a lot of women with talent. There are a lot of women with the looks. There are a lot of women. So the competition, I wouldn't even say competition, right? I'm just saying like the abundance of what the next thing is out there already. You know what I mean? So if you hear no, just understand that it just wasn't for you. Like, that's it.
Yeah, they're not ready for you.
Then you just move on and better things. And then that leads into what I was talking about earlier, which is, don't wait to be chosen. Right? You hear so many no's, but you want to be a fashion model, great, but figure out first that self-awareness piece, which is like, what brand do I want to portray? Who do I want to be? And then based on your networking, find your sister to do your makeup for your shoes. Get a decent photographer. And then it helps you grow. Then you maybe realize maybe you were meant to be a creative director,
right? Not
a fashion model, you know? So that's my philosophy, guys.
Oh my goodness. I told you, she's not just beautiful, she got brain, and she does. But anyway, what are some of the challenges you face being a model? Like what like one of the most difficulty you've encountered since you decided to be a professional model in the United States?
Challenges.
Yes, like one of the difficulty, and another thing is this is two in one question. And like I said, she got brains, so she's up for it. Like one challenges that you face, you know, or one or two, like some challenges that you face being a model, especially a black model.
Yeah.
And then what you wish you should have known going into the modeling industry.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely a couple of different challenges that I can touch on. One being the makeup piece. You know, this is very minimal, but it matters so much because, I mean, my photographers out there will tell you that, you know, when makeup is bad or, you know, the editing will take much longer.
Right.
I've had encounters where, honestly, even to this day, you know, if I'm going to a gig, I bring my own makeup kit. And it's not because we don't have brands out there who represent, you know, the deeper skin tones, but it's just that not every makeup artist knows how to work with my skin tone.
Right.
For example, I actually had, oh wait, maybe I shouldn't say this on camera, but I had a very famous person, makeup artist, do my makeup.
Right.
And I was very looking forward to that gig because I was like, yes, you know, this is, whoa, you beat this person's face. I can't wait to see what you do to me.
Right.
I sat down in a chair, and I'm just like more free and relaxed than I usually am.
Because you're confident.
Yeah, because I'm like, what?
They got it. They got it.
Right. So I'm just sitting there, you know, he's asking me all these questions. We're talking, and then, you know, afterwards, after they do your makeup, and then they give you the what do you call it, the mirror.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, girl, what do you think? I was like, wow. First of all, I was like maybe 10 shades lighter. I asked him before we got started, I'm like, hey, do you have my color? And I always ask, and it's like, no, I got this.
Yeah, don't worry.
Like, all right. So it just goes on to show, like, even if you do someone's makeup who, you know, not everybody knows how to work with, I feel like, my skin tone or deeper skin tones.
Right.
So I still carry my, you know, makeup bag to this day if I am going to a gig or anything like that, which is sad, but that's just what the reality of the industry is. All right, well, that's a good question. I actually have to think about that one. What I wish I knew coming into the model industry, I would say, like, the importance of networking, right? Because back then, I mean, I clearly didn't know what networking was. I was just like, all right, hey, you want to be my friend? I'm a model. You're a model. Okay, let's be friends.
Follow me on Instagram.
Follow me on Instagram. Yeah. But and I think as you you set goals, right, you realize, okay, dang, maybe I should have got that person's number, or dang, I could have used this person here, but I was too shy to speak up and stuff like that. So I think the networking piece, like, and learning that skill or mastering it, I think is really, really important. And I wish I could have known that, you know, coming into.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing, Ida. Listen, if you aspire to be a model, this is one part you don't want to miss, because all the juice are in here. But before I let you go, Ida, please, there's something you mentioned about, you know, most people leave different city to do the modeling and stuff like that. In your career, what do you think? You think being a model, it depends on what city you're in for you to be successful or grow?
That's a good question. I think there is a higher probability of making it in certain cities, just because certain places are the fashion, you know, cities of the world, right? You know, the Parises and the Londons and the New York and the LAs. If you see a lot of the girls who I know who are trying to make it into, like, the fashion industry, they move to these different cities. So I do think that the location does matter. Now, it matters, but it's also a little bit more challenging, because for me, I could walk out of here and not see another girl who looks like me in, like, maybe till tomorrow or something.
Right.
In the New Yorks and the LAs and I mean, you see women who look like you all the time, right? Probably taller, probably, like, had the physiques and all that stuff, because again, everybody is coming to, all the talent is pretty much coming to one area. And it's making the market saturated, but it also giving people opportunities who actually want to branch out into other different areas. I mean, into, like, being, like, supermodels or whatever it is that their goal is, right? So yes, I think the location does matter if your goal is to, you know, branch out into the fashion industry or be a supermodel. But do it the right way. Okay, like, and I know the stories of I only had $2 in my account and I didn't have anywhere to sleep. I went to New York, Naomi Campbell walked by me, and then boom, I'm a supermodel. That happens. Like something, like literally some people's stories, that's how it is.
Wow.
But it's not for everybody. You know, like I have a friend who left everything in the DMV, moved to New York, you know, sleeping from couch to couch to couch, didn't really have any income, or didn't have, I mean, and sometimes I ask her, I was like, is it really worth it? You know, like just for that one moment for somebody to look at you and say, hey, let me choose you. You know, like just for that one moment. But you go, but for some people it's worth it. It's worth the sacrifice. And shout outs and kudos to those who are doing it, because I know I couldn't do it. But shout out to those people who actually believe like in that whole idea of, hey, with $2 in my bank account, I'm gonna go to New York or LA, or I'm gonna move to a city and just hope that God opens doors for me. And it could happen, definitely. But I would say that in that sense, there should be a little bit more planning. And I think maybe some of the young girls should just be a little bit more realistic when they actually, you know, make that transition.
Yeah, I mean that's key though. You know, they say failing to plan is planning to fail.
Yeah, I mean, for me, listen, I will go crazy if I don't plan. I am a T planner, and sometimes it's not good, right? Because it actually goes into the control factor.
Yeah,
the control factor. Exactly. Spontaneous for me, it's like you give me anxiety. It's like, all right, so what's the next move? So we do this, and then here, and then, you know, so I'm learning to get better in that area and just kind of like relax a little bit. But I am a planner, like naturally. So for me, something like that, which some people can do, would give me anxiety, like all the way, because I'm just like, what is plan B?
Oh my goodness. I mean, that is so amazing. Everything that you touch on, it's so amazing. Listen, if you're just joining us, I am on set with Aida Gueye. And we were just talking about how she transitioned to the United States, and some juicy advice and point that she mentioned of her career as a model in the United States. So you don't want to miss this. Next, we're gonna talk about how she managed as a model, and I know she also have a master in human resources management. And like I said, she's not just beautiful, she got brain. So you don't want to miss this next session. Part 3 coming right to you. This is Success Behind Shadow. Come and let your story inspire others.
A very resilient